All right, so as I press the button, I will continue to remind everyone how amused I am that our Halloween one-shot is not only entering episode 4, but is scheduled to go live, I think, for the first Monday in March?
Yeah, well, this just means that if people want to, they can, save up for Halloween and just compile all of the episodes together and watch them or listen to them in one long October marathon of GURPS weirdity. Anyway, hi, this is Beth, and this is GURPS Wars Halloween One-Shot, Episode 4. I mean, I figure one-shot basically means that that there's a very defined end and it's not an
campaign.
Right,
it's not
one
adventure.
Right, it's one adventure. We just are taking our time and enjoying it. And I'm joined with Ellie and Eo and Crash by them thing, and I have no words, which will make this very interesting. So, what happened last time? I have a few notes, but not very many.
Sen found a bucket of blood, and that's the highlight of the whole session. There are other things that happened,
and
No one was prepared for what awaited them in the basement.
I stand by making that fright check, given that we had just been discussing whether the people above could potentially be hallucinations. I don't know why that was being discussed. I think it was a side note from the theory that maybe the house's decor was an illusion.
Since you went into the basement and now everyone
and then
feels
we went into
very
the
strongly.
Basement and heard a voice that sounded like Iana's, and I stand by it, jumping to the wrong conclusion and making a fright check about it.
I think that's wonderful. I love it when people proactively make fright checks.
Also, apparently, the concrete floor felt like it should be dirt.
Mm-hmm.
But not
time you
felt
look away
like
from
you're touching
you're
it.
Positive you're walking. Right.
Yes. And this bottle of wine, somebody's already thrown it up. But don't worry, they put it back.
Yep.
And this
in the bottle
was full of blood.
Yep.
And this one has blood, and this one has blood, as this one has...
And this one has blood, and this one has blood.
Were these bottled in an abattoir?
You know, I'm starting to wonder if the Count actually drinks wine.
Well, I'm glad somebody's amused.
That should have been a very fine quality bread wine.
Instead people had to touch blood.
Oh, that was the blood that came from the bird equivalents that were draining into in the kitchen. So it just is still blood and not coagulated at all yet.
Oh, and we did find a person locked in a room that was warded against outside intrusion. In my defense, I was told to break the lock, which also broke the wards. But it's okay. It was fixed with some cork, covered in vomit, and a little bit of chalk.
We are nothing if not inventive.
The vomit was not necessary.
It was an issue with the materials.
Only a poor artist blames their tools.
You took the cork? But are you people artists?
Well, and Tuxa certainly is. I mean, look at that fine chalkwork. Oh, wait, we can't. We told the lady inside to not open the door.
Uh-huh.
I didn't even go in the room. I spent all my time at this crossroads right here to make sure no one could approach from any direction.
That's pretty fair. And you're still in a crossroads. And there's a few doors.
And apparently there was a construction crew who came in after last week to widen a bunch of the doorways.
Mm-hmm. So maybe you people can actually get into the doors.
Which should be why I can see through this one.
What?
Can't see much of use.
What are you seeing
through? See if I can
through?
screenshot this.
I'm clicking on your character.
As well. Wow, I did not mean to open that door, but you know what? Sure.
Oh, 14 is...
Yeah, it's physical.
How do you see through the
Well, we don't see through to 14. The door had been open to 14, so it's showing that in grayscale to say, hey, you saw this at one time. But for 15, the door was not quite wide enough to fill the gap. So with it closed, we could see just a little bit on either side.
But hopefully it's wide
think
enough
they're
now.
killing Nexu fish in there.
Currently?
Sen opens the door, sees a Nexu fish being slaughtered. Sen closes the door.
And that would be pretty fair. So, you're opening the door to 15. Let me just...
If we go by what was actually on the map, Sen was opening and closing the door repeatedly. And I like this. I want this to be canon.
It was not. Someone else closed it and then
That
opened
was
it
me
again.
accidentally. That was me accidentally.
Oh, okay.
Although, I mean, fair. Let me just see what kind of configuration, light radius. That should actually have, like...
By the way, the trick for the doors to make sure that views are blocked is you have to have the circles on either end of the door line. And this makes sense if you're looking in Foundry, but if you've never been in Foundry, it makes no sense whatever what I'm saying, and that amuses me. The line for the door, the circles need to be right on top of the circles for the wall on either side.
They can't be, like, further than the circles for the wall?
I always put them right on top.
I do too. I was doing it too, but then you people couldn't get in.
Well, they're very narrow doors.
Apparently.
They were made for very skinny people. And I've had soup.
Hopefully they'll... You have indeed. Oh, and this is how those things are supposed to work with the lights. Okay. Alright, and make sure that has right. Update. Okay. Alright, that... Oh, now I see how the lights are supposed to work. Much better. Alright. Interesting. You have a brighter... Sinoni has a brighter light. So, where were we? Oh, yes. It's a very large... Well, it looks like a dungeon. The walls appear to be made out of stone. There's a couple of lamps that are actually, they're casting a warm, flickering light across the cluttered chamber. They are not like normal light, they're flickery, but you people have your own light sources. A variety of iron tools, strips of leather, and chains are haphazardly tossed on tables. A horrible, rotten, musky scent fills the room. So make an HT roll to avoid getting, like, really grossed out.
There was a wine bottle filled with vomit. Do I really need to roll? Is this worse?
Yes.
I pull my shirt tunic thing up over my nose and mouth.
That was kind of obnoxious. Not you. The dice on the screen said 253.
Oh.
Probably my dice ran into them. That can happen with the dice physics, and it doesn't change the...
Right.
Because this is not physics-based.
It makes it.
Not unlike the Force.
Okay.
It is not physics-based.
A couple of you are basically gagging because, wow, this smells terrible, possibly because there's a corpse on the north wall hanging from a couple of rusty manacles. There's
Does
a
the corpse
placard
have a
around
head?
its neck. The corpse has a head.
We're not going to find the missing body.
Maybe. Meanwhile, on one of the tables in the middle of the room, there's a Nexu fish. It's lying belly up, and there's, like, its insides are not inside it. And in the far south, there are a couple of iron cages that are, like, embedded into in the floor. They appear empty. On one cage, there's a placard.
Signs, everywhere there's signs.
I never want to audit mysteries again. All of this should have stayed mysterious. Especially the smell.
It's not as bad as the vomit wine. in my personal opinion. But maybe it's just because I'm still out here in the hallway and I was holding the bottle.
Yeah. Hello, terrible corpse.
Okay, you're investigating the corpse, you two, since you've moved up to the north.
Yes. What does the placard say?
Sinful and treasonous.
We're Sith. Isn't that just
Sinful?
standard operating procedure?
Well, you're not supposed to be treasonous. That gets you arrested by philosophy or laws and justice or whoever.
Depends on
The
who
corpse
you're
look
betraying.
Does the corpse look familiar? Give me an IQ roll or anything appropriate.
I don't know what's appropriate.
Well, if you think there's something that would be more appropriate, give me that. Otherwise, give me an IQ roll.
Made it by 3.
Savoir-faire? Does not look like anyone's savoir-faire.
That's my savoir-faire is IQ plus 0, so it's functionally the same thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this looks... I mean, okay, he's haggard. He looks like someone has been doing horrible things to him somehow. And also looks like one of the servants for Darth Simont from the images that you were given. The one called Furman, you think? You can pull out your data pad and compare.
Great. Wonderful. So, rock, flimsy scissors about who has to touch the horrible thing?
Not
And
it.
Tooks is already taking her gloves off.
You've taken your gloves off already?
Probably with a resigned sigh.
Yeah.
Hunger, fear, despair, mostly emotional impressions, not being able to see properly, that kind of thing.
Okay.
You just made.
I have an idea. Sononi does say this out loud.
Does it involve marionette strings?
No, why? What? If I was going to puppet the body around, I would do it with telekinesis. You'd need telekinesis to use marionette strings that size anyway.
And Tuxa has made a will roll by 4.
And Tuxa is putting hand sanitizer on her hands, putting her gloves back on, and keeping her mouth shut.
Sononi is going to pick up the sign.
Are you all right? You have a sign. You have removed it from the neck, and you have missed psychometry by 1. It feels like it's been in a cellar that is full of.
I'm going to spend fatigue.
Okay.
That's two points of fatigue, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to spend 2 points of fatigue.
Okay.
I want to know why he is sinful. I want to know what that has to do with anything.
The sign was hung here by something cold and hateful. And you're not precisely sure that the cold, hateful thing was living, dead, droid, something. It's cold and it hates.
Something cold and awful put this sign on this person. And it might not have been alive. And I'm going to put the sign back now, I think. Is everyone all right with that?
By all means.
Wonderful.
To get over to the dead Nexu fish, it's been rotting for days and days. Give me an HT -2.
I think I might have changed my mind.
Do you need to come out here for some fresh air?
What fresh air?
It's apparently fresher than what's in there based on your reaction.
Hey, you made your HT by 3. Very good. Good health roll.
Right. Which means I made the roll by 1.
Yep. Okay, you can get there without having to yarp up whatever that you last ate into a corner somewhere.
I have a bottle for that.
Yeah, but someone already did.
Yes, but how
apparently.
full is it?
It's full.
Oh, that's why I set it down next to the blood.
Yep.
Don't mix them.
Were you reading my mind?
I hope not. I hope not. I really hope that's not what you think about. And if it is, I don't want to know.
Well, I was just wondering why the blood would be stored down here. And I don't know, I was remembering too many stories meant to keep young people up at night.
This entire place is a story meant to keep people up at night, young or not.
Fair. But there was one about some monster that drank only blood, and long story short, and summed up very quickly, the food source was spiked.
So we should poison all of the bottles of blood?
I haven't started doing
Did
such a
someone
thing, but it was the thought.
exsanguinate this?
The thought did occur to me.
Did someone Does the next fish look exsanguinated?
Give me something that will count as an investigation roll.
I have search.
Give me a search -5.
Search like investigation.
Kind of. It's where you're searching things.
I also look. I have scrounging and I have search.
Go with search. Go with search as a substantial penalty because search is usually you're trying to find like things and not bodies.
If they're investigating the body, would first aid also work?
That's a possibility, but it's still going to be at a penalty. Give me a roll. Let's see what you do.
From the door, I look at the fish and say, well, it's dead.
It's definitely dead. It looks like someone bashed its head open with something, like an axe or a giant maul or something.
Based on the roll I made, I might be assuming that it was easy for them to smash its head open because they'd already removed the internal organs, and it was hard for it to dodge after that.
Could be. Indeed. And yes, it's been split open, and there's stuff in there, and like small bones and organs that are kind of pulled out, and it's just, gross and dead.
That's not gonna make it.
And it's been dead.
Um,
As near as you can tell, there are no placards on this here thing. What are you looking for, if anything specific?
me?
Yeah, you.
I was trying to figure out if it had been exsanguinated.
I mean, they sure weren't trying to keep the blood inside. There's blood around it. It looks a bit like someone dragged it in bleeding. There's old blood marks on the floor here and there.
Does it look like any of the blood went not on the floor? Like a substantial quantity?
I'm sorry.
Does it look like there's enough blood on the floor?
Maybe. Hard to tell. Depends on how much might have been dripping elsewhere.
Well, this is fascinating. I'm going to look over here at this lamp. Please tell me the
How
first
long
thing
are
I
you
notice is
spending
that the
looking at
lamp
the
is
lamp?
not covered in blood
The lamp is not covered in blood.
or filled with blood.
Does not appear to be filled with blood. It, at first glance, looks like it's a flickering, gas lamp thing.
On second glance, is this something that is technology but disguised for the aesthetic, or is it an actual lamp?
Is technology disguised for the aesthetic? If you fiddle with it at all, are you going to touch it?
Yes.
Oh, there's a little switch here. It's one of those little clicky switches, and you can turn it off, and you can turn it to flickering lamplight, and you can turn it to basically, hi, I'm a light source. I'm bright. I don't flicker.
I go through all the settings more than
I'm
once.
Which one are you leaving it on?
The player's favorite fidget is a clicky thing, as evidenced by the pens that the player played with growing up to the the sad reactions of everyone around me. But never mind about that. Basically, I keep pressing the button over and over again to go through the settings and, yes. This is not covered in blood. This is the best thing in this basement. I like this thing. And then I leave it on the wrong setting and leave.
And which setting is that?
Well, whichever setting it was on before, not that one. Mm-hmm. The least lamp-like lamp setting is what I leave it at.
There's off, there's flickering, and there's hi, I'm just a bright light.
Then it would have to be hi, I'm just a bright light. I was hoping for an RGB setting, but oh well.
Alas, no, it's not doing that.
Where'd Antuxa go?
Oh, Antuxa went into that room over
out?
there. I'm sure it's fine.
I haven't actually gone in yet.
Antuxa's embedded in the wall over there near the room. I'm sure it's fine.
Yes, it's a dark room and it has a big black pit in it. That, vague... Let's see. You're peeking in there? Okay, I have... Senoni has done a psychometry roll and Tuxa has done detecting disturbances. Senoni, don't let me forget your psychometry. I'm going to go with Antuxa here.
Valid.
Okay, so... You know how you've been feeling like there's all these waves of force energy that have been doing the swirling clouds thing or maybe a pinwheel thing, etc., etc.? Yeah, you found where you found it. It's sort of steaming sinkhole, dark force energies. This place is like you're not even sure if you're staring into reality or some kind of nightmarish force vision. But there's a big black hole there, and that's where everything is coming from. Wow, yeah. You have detected your disturbances, and they are there, and they are disturbing. Shall I go back to Senoni now?
As much as I'm enjoying the conversation you two are having, I am quite alarmed. And yes, now you can go back to Senoni.
Senoni, you're doing psychometry. What are you psychometrizing?
My own regret. I'm touching something. I am touching the horrible thing.
You're touching the Nexu fish?
I am touching the Nexu fish.
The Nexu fish was dead when someone started digging around in its internal organs and pulling things out of the organs, not just organs out of the body. You have an image of someone and you might recognize them if you actually saw them in real life.
What species?
Let me just do a double check to see if I set a species here. Scroll. Human.
Okay, so we know it's not O'Neill.
Not O'Neill. No.
Okay.
Actually, give me an IQ roll. Oh, made by 3. It might be Darth Simont. It's kind of hard to tell. You're getting mostly impressions. It's psychometry. It's more from the viewpoint, so to speak, of a thing that was dead when this was happening. Yeah.
So while that's happening, I've gone over and looked over Antuxa's shoulder to see the giant void hole thing.
There sure is a giant void hole there. There's a lot of chalk on the walls and ceiling in patterns. There's shards of tables, equipments, and what you can see. And now you're wandering out of the...
Oh, I went to get the bottle of vomit.
What are you doing with the bottle of vomit?
That's an out of context quote.
No.
I'll just put...
No. Don't
I'll
do
just
it.
put this
Don't
over
do
here with the rest of the horrors.
Don't.
I want
do
to see
it.
how deep it is, and I don't want to throw anything that I want back. Are you saying that we should keep this?
I'm saying that I think that, like, a rock or something would be safer. Because they're keeping this for some reason, and I don't want to find out that there's some kind of horrible ritual that's done by pouring bile into a Sononi looks in giant pit. Why is there a giant pit?
That sounds
Just have
like
fun.
a
Can
totally
everyone...
unreasonable
Maybe-
assumption. I mean, if it was for some type of ritual, there'd be chalk drawings all over the... Oh. What am I rolling?
Intel IQ rolls.
All round?
Yeah, all round. It's kind of a perception roll thing.
Well, if it's
Right.
a perception roll, then it should be made by 6.
So, all of you, you're Sith. You have effectively danger sense because, you're force sensitive. You can tell when danger is around. That's a lot of danger. It's sort of free-floating, malevolent danger, intent, darkness, danger. Hello, danger. It's not like directed danger, but wow, that sure is dangerous.
Oh, thank goodness. That might be Darth Simont.
I did make a mind shielding roll to see if I could block out any potential force visions.
Helps a little bit. You can basically tell that reality and the force vision are very merged, and you can tell that this is a force vision that has been overlaid into reality, and it is powerful enough and affecting your mind shield enough that it's probably one of those, if you die in the force vision, you die in real life, which is not always the case with force visions. The shield helps. It's not giving you enough actual, you can look around and, yep, the walls, the ceiling, the floor covered in chalk, ritual patterns, diagrams, etched symbols, shards of tables and other equipment are in the corners. The pit plummets into unfathomable darkness.
And Tuxa has left the map.
Oh,
And
can't
Tuxa was
see
not ready
Antuxa
for
yet?
this level of nope.
No, it's just because you're not looking in. You can look in. If you
Well, I
want.
was told to not throw the bottle of vomit in.
Oh, well.
So, is there anything in
there's-
this room with the corpse and the fish thing? I'm assuming that if I try to throw either
right.
the corpse or the
It was
fish thing
probably
in, that'll
Simon
be vetoed
that-
too.
What was something
Right.
It was
about...
probably Simon.
Simont is probably the one who did things to the Nexu fish. He was taking things out of its organs. I don't know what you get out of the organs of a Nexu fish, and I probably don't want to.
Blood, most likely. Is there anything in here that isn't
what are you
biological
looking
that
for?
I could toss in the hole?
I mean, there's like chains and leather straps, and that there's like a few knives around.
Oh, there's a chair here. I grabbed the chair.
Okay, you have a chair.
I am going to toss the chair from the
Trying to
door.
get into the room.
Are you able to get into the room?
I didn't want to go in the
Yeah,
room.
I had to go below the door. Oh, okay.
I'm
You'll
I tossed
probably-
the
backing
I
way
tossed the
up
chair into the void, and see if the void tosses the chair back to me.
Are you being quiet while you toss the chair, or are you all chattering?
I mean, I'm not going to.
I'm keeping my mouth shut.
I'm backing way up.
I'm listening.
Perception hearing roll, please.
As a car in need of a muffler drives past me.
After a while, it goes splash, and then there's sort of cracking sounds.
Oh, good.
If you make an IQ roll to figure out how, the rate of speed, how many seconds, if you were paying attention, then you can maybe figure out how long before it hit.
Well, I
no,
missed it
you
by
missed.
one,
You weren't
so
mi-
clearly it's bottomless.
You weren't counting seconds. Yeah. Except that it went splash eventually.
Are you done? I'm gonna...
It's
Are we
still
done
just
throwing
as
things
scary
into
as
the
it
pit?
was before.
And Tuxa has opened the door. Yes, one corner of the room, the
I'm trying to get into the room, but I can't.
You gotta go in at an angle. Yep.
There we go. No,
And
I
be
had to go
careful
in
not to go
at an
forward.
angle.
I dragged you in. I dragged you in.
Oh,
Antuxa has found a small,
Privy.
well, it's a very small little room. There's a wooden box with a hole on the top. There's a sink type thing against one wall.
You found an
There's a
indoor
sign
outhouse.
above the box.
And you found a
There's a
paladin
sign
named
over the
Chadrick.
box. No paladins named Chadrick in this outhouse. If you
There's
go
a
look at the
sign?
sign, there's a sign. The sign says, "Praise the mouth of Darth Arctus."
I'm gonna make an IQ roll.
Make an IQ roll.
Also, I think Antuxa should probably also make an IQ roll.
And Tuxa can make an IQ roll +2. Oh, yeah.
I think that this
And
small
Tuxa.
room is the most disturbing thing I've seen so far today.
Darth Arctus is the Dark Counselor, one of the 12 ruling Sith of the Empire, just beneath power of, in power just below that of the Emperor, who is the counselor for the sphere of ancient knowledge. You know full well that ancient knowledge and mysteries kind of hate each other. Sinoni, you just made your IQ roll. Is that what you were looking for on the for IQ? Were you looking for what the name meant?
Yeah, I was looking for whether I remembered who that was.
Counselor for ancient knowledge. This is one of these things that you've been being drilled in.
Are they calling the toilet the that seems very crude.
Indeed.
I'm gonna touch the sign.
Okay.
Wash your hands first, and afterwards.
Excuse me.
Mostly after, probably. The
by
sign
2.
has been hanging here for some time and has not actually been handled by people. Something may have slithered past it recently. Mostly people don't touch it. It's been there. It's sitting there. It has absorbed that there's horrible bad stuff around, but in and of itself, it's just like plastic that seems to have been made to look like wood.
I
Does
don't
feel
know
like-
what I expected.
It does feel like something slithered past it at one point.
A slithery thing touched it.
Right, I'm out.
That is your line?
I mean,
The
it
bottomless
wouldn't necessarily.
pit is fine. The bottomless pit should have chairs thrown in it. But a
Well, you wouldn't
slithery
let me
thing
use
is
the
your
bottle of
line?
vomit. It's. The line was a moving line, and it was moved forward with everything else. This is the last one. Also, it's the last room in here. We've seen everything, and unless you let me throw more things in the bottomless pit, we're pretty much done here. I have a feeling that the back taxes are not down the hole. Either
No,
one.
I suspected that down the hole is that sewer that we fished a body out of.
Oh, that makes it worse.
Well, it went splash.
And crackle.
Huh?
Splash, crackle, pop
I've
are the
taken my-
worst Rice Krispies.
Mm-hmm.
I've taken my glove off again, and I'm going to psychometrize the edge of the pit.
Okay, make a roll
I wouldn't do that because I don't have psychometry. But that's
and
besides
make
the
a fright
point.
check at -2. You succeeded by 2. Make a fright check at -2.
You are burdened with terrible knowledge.
I'm very good at fright checks.
Yes, you are very good at fright checks. I forget if fright checks have an automatic cutoff or not. Well, this pit is not precisely there, and it is also very much there. Something of darkness and horribleness has broken through, probably due to some kind of stupid ritual done here. And look, You've heard about what the Dark Temple is supposed to feel like from your parents. You managed to avoid going, but you've heard about it. This is like worse, maybe. It is darkness, it is death, it is pain, it is fear, it is despair. And the despair is the hard part because, you're a Sith. You get power from, fear becomes anger, anger and hate. Hate gives you power, hate, the Force sets you free. This is despair in there. This is overwhelming, the stuff that sucks your power away. You have a feeling that if you go down there and are not really, really careful, it's going to be like, fright checks all day.
Fascinating.
Madness await. You also vaguely get a feeling that someone was around it at one point, and I don't know, people were throwing things into it. Maybe that's, maybe that's just Ran. Maybe Ran did it.
I could get another chair if you want.
No.
Bottle of vomit?
No, thank you. But
Bucket of blood?
I think I'm beginning to piece some things together.
I'm glad that one of us is.
Ran is trying very hard to not do the, yes, so you've noticed it too line, because then additional information would be required, and Ran doesn't have it. Care to share with the rest of us?
Well, I would, but I can't get out of the room.
It's okay, you just have to walk through that fourth wall right there.
Even bigger. Just make the doors.
The door needs to line up
double-sized.
with the grid, and not the grid that's drawn, but the grid that we're actually using.
I think it is. I don't know. It's bigger now. It's twice the size.
It's bigger
Just
on
make
the
all
inside.
The door's huge. Yeah, well, something like that. You people just leaving the poor person you found in there and going away, or
We gave her some MREs.
I haven't
and
forgotten about her.
I believe the concept was that she's safer there than not there.
Yeah, we don't need to involve her yet.
So, Antuxa? Would you, like to share your misery with the class? Misery loves company and all that.
Well, I only have a few pieces. I think you're right that what's beneath the pit is some sort of sewer, or at least a grotto. But
Someone threw that beheaded person in a sewer.
except I think that drainage grate ran directly to the swamp instead of being part of a larger sewage system.
Oh, well, alright, yeah,
However, it had been eaten by one of these Nexu fish things, and I have a suspicion that it was that one.
A thought occurs to
You
me.
think
I'm
so?
going over to the corpse.
okay. There's a corpse here.
I am searching the head for a carving.
You would have there. There do not appear to be any marks on the forehead where the other carving was. You would have to peel off the skin to see if there's anything on the bone. The body appears to have died fairly recently. I mean, you're poking at it, so the rigor mortis is setting in.
So
There's
this
a
corpse,
sign.
for all the stuff that was done to it, this corpse doesn't have any markings similar to the one we found on the first one.
Correct. Well, the head. You didn't find the whole corpse. Just the head.
Yes.
And a few other upsetting, mysterious glops. A lot of what seems to have been done to it is either blunt trauma or, well, who knows what's been going on. You could try to make a psychometry roll if you really want to. Although I don't know if you have the skill.
I do not have the skill. I would just be touching it and going,
And are you pled?
yes.
Do we still feel that sense of horrible danger? I don't know why I used my in-character voice for that.
Fair. I mean, kind of, but it's like coming from over there, TM. You've been feeling dark presence stuff, etc., and, well,
The danger is coming from the pit.
there's sort of a generalized danger coming from the pit, yeah.
I still think that the pit is somehow our lead on Darth Simont, but I but I don't know why. Like, I don't want to say he's living in an evil pit because that seems like a stretch. But like, I think the evil pit's related. He's been down here.
Could be a sibling.
No more extra surprise people who shouldn't be here. There are too many of those already.
Well, with everything we found so far, encountering an identical twin who's being an imposter for some reason would just be almost normal.
Hey. You think the necklace is down the pit?
I'm not going to go look. I'm willing to throw more things down there.
We could go and take the droid's head off the droid and lower the droid's head down and have it tell us what it sees.
The droid heads tend to not have internal power supplies.
Okay, the droid's head and a battery.
On one hand, I see merit to your plan, but on the other, and it's odd for me to say this, I think that droid has been through enough.
Yeah, probably. All right, I'm going to go see if I can get together like anything that looks like I could pull some kind of camera on a stick setup.
We could throw that pale fellow, the arrogant one, down the pit and have him tell us what he sees.
I have
Which
a
one's
feeling.
the arrogant one again? Huh?
I have a feeling what we would get back is the horrors. The horrors.
Count Murgot? Is that the arrogant one?
Yeah. Well, I realize saying the arrogant one really did not narrow it down. It didn't even prevent us from being the target of that statement. Although I did say the pale one, which still leaves me as a qualifying factor. Based on the
Well, I
character art.
assume you aren't suggesting we throw you down.
No, I'm suggesting I be allowed to do the throwing.
So that does kind of narrow it down a little. Anyway, I'm going to go up and start looking for, I don't know, comm units, cameras, electronic miscellany. There's got to be some electronic stuff somewhere.
And if there isn't, the air will be fresher anyway. And we've been playing for about an hour. What do you say we take a short break?
Good idea.
While the map loads.
While the map loads.
And we're
Okay.
back.
Since this is a short time, because some people have school in the morning, and it's possibly not who you think. Dun dun dun. No, it is who you think. It's Crash.
It's me!
We're going to end off this episode. Yeah, like early this time. So this is Beth saying thank you for listening, and thank everybody for playing. And who has something to plug?
Well, Eo's mom writes books.
At elizabeth-mccoy.com. And one of these days, elizabethmccoy.com. But, you know, they'll probably direct to each other. And speaking of books...
Well, Jen has
Or
bookofjen.net,
websites?
Oh, they're not here.
but yeah.
Speaking of websites.
Speaking of websites, we have one where you can find all of these recordings at aaronbsmith.com/cogwheel. So you can find GURPS Wars, you can find Dungeons and Dragons, and it's mostly Dungeons and Dragons, but we're branching out. And there's Lasers and Feelings in there. There's Cypher System in there. There's more stuff. There's kobolds that are in space. Not those kobolds. It's a different group of kobolds. No. The other group of whatever. In any case, all that stuff is there with the RSS feeds to subscribe to stuff. And if you like what you're hearing, please, by all means, share it with someone else. This is a hobby, but I do enjoy knowing that other people listen to it. And if you enjoy it enough, we do have a Patreon, patreon.com/cogwheelgaming. You can help us keep the lights on. I can speak. We can help us keep the lights on, along with other illustrious patrons, including Ellie, Shan, Walter, and patron emeritus Cindy.
Until next time, this is Beth saying, well, I hope that they don't forget about me down here, because that would get really boring. Good night, everyone.
We gave her a tablet.
Good night.
Good night.